Hello, everyone. This is Nicholas, and welcome to the Bus Autrement videos and podcasts. This episode is somewhat special because I decided to record it in English. Will be good practice for my usual French audience and listeners. And the reason why I'm doing this one in English is because in this episode, I want to say a special thank you to a Brit, more precisely an English gentleman named Chris Ducker. Chris Ducker is an influencer, you might say, but he is first and foremost someone who's obsessed with helping what he has come to call youpreneurs. Youpreneurs are the people who are in the business of building a community of users around their expertise and striving to help out their community through their expertise and knowledge and a lot of very cool stuff like creating podcasts and videos and membership sites and all those things revolving around a youpreneur's expertise. So Chris is the ultimate guide for anybody who wishes to be their own product, to be their own service around and build something around their expertise and help out their community. So Chris has been doing that for quite a few years now, and a couple of years back, I believe first edition was in 2017. Chris has put together something called the Youpreneur Summit, and that takes place in London, downtown London, every November. So November 2017 was the first edition, then November 2018, November 2019, and I look forward, very much forward, to Youpreneur Summit's fourth edition this year coming up in London, lovely neighborhood of Westminster Abbey. Queen Elizabeth II Convention Center, phenomenal venue, phenomenal people. And last time I was there, I have not missed a beat. Actually, in the last 3 years, I attended every single one of those summits. And most recent one I was at last November had almost 400 attendees from all over the world, and phenomenal speakers on stage, phenomenal mastermind sessions, absolutely brilliant stuff. I am one of many of those attendants, and my situation may be somewhat special because I am not at core what you might define as a youpreneur. I actually I've created with my wife almost 8 years ago a regular business. We are actually in the pet food sector, and we created a pet food brand called Atavik, and you can check us out on atavik.fr. I am French, my wife is from Finland, and we created that company in France to target the French market initially, and that was in 2012, and now in our 8th year, it's 12 of us. So we have a staff of 12 people. We are now a multi-million euro company in yearly sales, and we have been growing quite a bit year on year since we got started. So initially, to cut a long story short, when I ended up in the first Youpreneur Summit in 2017, I was not, properly speaking, the typical attendee or the typical target for the Youpreneur Summit's sessions and keynote speakers and mastermind groups, because I was not into the business of myself, of my own person. I own a company that sells products. We create and we sell products, and we have brick and mortar retailers. We cover about 200 retailers in the French market now, and we have also an online store which caters to thousands of B2C customers, but we deliver actual products that actually sit on racks and shelves, and we ship out dozens of thousands of parcels to people's doorsteps every single year, and we feed in a very practical way lots of pets throughout France, Belgium, Switzerland. Got a couple customers in Luxembourg. We do have the odd Frenchman living in London. So we're basically a product company, a physical product company. but I'm very curious about branding in general and about the power of branding. And the reason why I got curious with the Youpreneur Summit was everything around that, around branding. Granted, the Youpreneur Summits are targeted at people who are their own brand or who want to become their own brand, but many of the principles that are being tackled on stage and off stage at the summit are actually great material for anybody selling any product and wishing to build a stronger brand around those products. So initially, I had a bit of sorting out to do with the sessions materials, because it's all very much focused on an individual being their own brand. But if you look carefully, if you scratch underneath the surface, it's actually all about branding. And it took a bit of sorting it out. It took actually a couple of months, and some topics took me a couple of years to actually understand what I could do with all of the exciting material that was being discussed on stage and off stage at the Youpreneur Summit, and also on the Youpreneur Academy website. And that is the community, the online community membership site that Chris and his team have built over the years. So it took a bit of sorting out, but I managed to bring quite a few interesting insights back to my team in France over the month and over the years, and it triggered quite a few interesting new projects, and allowed myself and the team to see ourselves in a slightly different light as being, strictly speaking, a strict product company. And we got to realize how much building the brand was going to set us apart from all of our competitors who are still doing it in a very traditional manner, I find. And much of the material that I came across at those summits have actually been great help to do strategic thinking and come up with very concrete, very down-to-earth schemes, allowing us to be perceived um, much more as a unique brand with a unique set of values and a unique customer promise to our community. And I'm very thankful for that. And Chris, I want to get into a couple of details, give you precise examples as to how your stuff and your speakers stuff and the whole community stuff has been a great help for me and our company. I'm going to be relying on a couple of notes that I got here. Webcam is here, and I'll be breaking eye contact with the webcam every now and then to go back and forth with my notes, because I didn't want to miss anything. First of all, I've been meaning to say thank you for quite some time, but I now find myself having more time thanks to the stay-at-home COVID situation. I actually live 80% of the time in Finland. Technically, we are not stuck at home in Finland. We're allowed to come and go relatively as we please for the moment. But because my company is located in France, my business is all happening in France right now. My entire staff is working from home in France, and we're super busy. We've been super busy throughout March, taking care of a pretty huge increase in product demand as people were stocking up and piling up on pet food, bracing for the impact of having to stay at home and not being allowed to come and go as they please. So the dust is now somewhat settling little by little. The last 2 weeks have been crazy busy, but now we're into the third week of this stay-at-home situation in France, and so things are getting a little more quiet now that everybody have their favorite brand of pet food and sitting in the cupboard, and they're all covered for the next 2 or 3 months, perhaps. So it's actually getting more quiet, and I finally find myself with some quality time to say a proper thank you to Chris Ducker. Among the many topics that I'm thankful for is something that all of you who are following Chris are familiar with, which is one of Chris's favorite questions to ask the audience: is how do you become someone's favorite? How are you going to become someone's go-to person when it comes to your field and your topic, or in my case, the products. Um, that has struck me as being a many-pronged question. How are you going to become their favorite brand? How are you going to make your products become their favorite products? How are you going to become their favorite people to do business with, apart from the products themselves? Because let's face it, plenty of pretty decent products are sold by complete assholes. People that you actually take no pleasure in doing business with. They just have a really good product, but they suck at making you feel special, or making you feel appreciated, or making you feel the love in general and feel the care. But they do have a really nice product. But if they were nice people to do business with, and if they were to become your favorite people to buy a product from, that would be even more powerful, wouldn't it? How can you put out people's favorite mindset? How can you display a certain mindset that will become people's favorite mindset to come across? How are you going to provide your customers with their favorite user experience in general, be it from your navigating your website, your online store? When you think in terms of UX in online sales, typically you'll be thinking about the quality of your funnel, and the fact that your interface is user friendly, and that it's easy to pick products and find the right one for you, and put that in your cart, and pay and be on your way. That's usually the perimeter of the user experience as conceived by online marketers and online salespeople. But it goes way beyond that. What happens when still people are hesitating with the product on the website? What happens when they dial that phone number to get in touch with someone? How is that going on once they have actual people on the phone? What happens if the parcel gets lost in the way, and people need to call and ask, what's up with their delivery? What happens if they don't really know for sure how to use the product once they've received it, and how much of the product they should give, and how much of a transition they should have from their old product to the new product? And what happens in general when they have technical questions about the product or about using the product? And again, they have to get in touch with you through email, through your social network pages in general, and through the phone, simply picking up their phone, calling you. What happens, and what kind of feeling do they get in terms of their user experience once they have an actual human being from your team on the phone? So I have found that to be a super powerful question to ask ourselves. In our business, I would say in France in particular, might not be true of all countries, but I noticed in France in particular, in our business, it's traditionally seen as enough to have the product in stock and deliver that product. And if you can deliver a product that does the job, well, most of the time you're doing it right, or you feel like you're doing it right enough for the customer. So revisiting our entire user experience in terms of not just doing the job, but in terms of becoming people's favorite, that has opened many new areas for improvement. And it's a two-pronged approach, because it's about becoming a customer's favorite, but it's also about becoming our prospects' favorites so that they become customers. And how do you create this sense of community so that you attract a certain type of people, and so that the actual target is that they'll come to you and stick with you as a person around this field of pet food, because they like what you're saying, they like what you're showing, they like the mindset with which you're doing it. And the actual sale of an actual product will be the logical consequence, the logical byproduct of this community relationship and the fact that they identify you as the type of person they would like to do business with. And then sales will happen. Traditionally, pet food brands build it the other way around. They sell products and then they pick up consumer data, and then they put out a page and whatnot, and then they try to animate this community around uh, an existing customer base. Usually, this is how it's been built in most of the market. We are trying to approach it the other way around by building a community mindset first, attracting the right type of people first, and gathering them around our concepts, and looking at the actual sale of the product as the byproduct and the logical next step that people will take after they've identified us as the type of people they like to hang out with when it comes to discussing their pets and the nutritional needs of their pets. So that has been super powerful for us, quite challenging, sending a lot of dust flying all over the place and watching then how it settles. And it's a real, it really shakes your deepest convictions about how this business should be done traditionally. I'm 44 years old. I'm not a digital native. You can see here that's the lack of digital nativeness showing right here. And as such, it's quite easy to stick to the traditional method of doing things. And so Chris has been very helpful uh, having that dust fly all over the place and settle back down in a different manner. And for that, I'm very, very thankful. Something else that Chris is often saying, he's actually I can't remember which year it was. It might have been the second year of the Youpreneur Summit. He actually printed those T-shirts. Chris and his team put out this great goodie bag every single time, and there's usually a T-shirt involved, and I've got one of those that actually says "Charge what you're worth," or as Chris says it much more elegantly than I, "Charge what you worth." Sorry about that. I had to do it at some point. Now it's out of my system. So charging what you're worth is one of Chris's leitmotifs. And we generally speaking never had an issue, or I thought as a company we had no issue with that from the start, because our products were designed to be top of class. We sell high-end products with a high-end price tag. And so typically I thought that had not really been an issue for us, that we've been charging a relatively high price because our products were designed to be top of class. But in some cases, we had not gone deep enough in our thinking about what that meant. Our products are very expensive to make. They're made with special ingredients, special proportions for those ingredients. Those are expensive ingredients, and the presence of those ingredients, including super high contents of fresh meat and fresh fish, and so on and so forth, have it so that we must use certain kind of very expensive technology to deal with those ingredients and those proportions. And as a result, our products are relatively expensive to make compared with the rest of the industry's products. So because the products are very expensive to make, very often we had a strong sense of charging what we needed to charge to cover those expenses and the cost for distribution and marketing and whatnot. But upon reflection, we realized that sometimes we were leaving money on the table in the process. In many cases, our products mean so much more than we imagine to those who buy them. And that makes a world of difference. Sometimes our product is the only food their pet will strive upon. And when we started really closely listening to what our community was saying about that, we realized how often that was the case. That quite often it's actually our products are actually the only food their pet will even touch or digest and strive on. As a result, the value that we're creating for those customers actually exceeds what we had initially envisioned as the value of the product. So it turned out when we listened closer that the products were making that much of a difference to that many people in our customer base that actually probably we weren't charging a high enough price sometimes, and that we did not as a result increase all of our pricing, but we started feeling a lot more confident about asking for that price, about not discussing, bargaining it down, for example, having those discussions about if I buy X number of products, what are you going to give me? What kind of discount are you going to give me? This is something that happens all over our industry, and those are conversations that we actually very very seldom have, or that we're able to cut short very quickly because we have acquired a much stronger sense of how much of an actual difference our products make in the lives of our customers and in the lives of the pet owners, because it makes such a big difference in the lives of their dogs and cats, quite simply. So it's perfectly okay then if that comes with a certain price tag. So although we have not used that to increase our pricing at all, actually, but it just gave us that much more self-confidence about having those discussions about why is it so expensive, or could you give me a discount? And it used to feel a lot more awkward. Those discussions used to feel a lot more awkward, and they no longer are. And we're very secure and confident now in having those conversations because of that, because we've thought about what we were actually worth to our customers. So thank you, Chris, for that. This whole idea of charging what you're worth comes with very powerful implications. And let me dwell on that a little bit, because I think it is what we call in French un sujet à tiroir, something that comes with many drawers inside. It's like those Russian dolls. You know, you open the larger one, there's a smaller one. You open the smaller one, there's an even smaller one in, and it's a never-ending topic. But it means protect your worth. Charge what you're worth implies go out there and protect that worth. Because if you're going to charge for it, you want to protect the hell out of it. That means don't ever settle for poorly executed products. Quite simply, don't you ever stop putting out there what you feel in your heart is the best possible product. Be crystal clear to your customers about what passes your criteria and what doesn't. Constantly uphold your customer promise that you will only put out there what you feel is the best possible product. That's what I call protect your worth. Don't ever let it be said that your products are not as good as it used to be, that the new range is not as good as the previous one, and that your new endeavor, you know, you're in dry food, you get into the canned food business, and you're in the canned food business, you get into the raw frozen food business. Well, have it so that product category after category, your products remain top of the line. Don't ever let it be said that you're no longer putting out your best effort. In general, protect that worth like crazy. Gather and hire in your team only the staff that truly and fully understand that doing something that's just good enough is not good enough. It's got to be your best possible effort, or else the value of your worth starts decreasing immediately. So protecting your worth is a strong implication of the charge what you're worth motto. A second powerful implication is develop your worth. Find new ways to make a difference for your customers all the time. Listen to what else they might need. Know your industry and know your suppliers so well that you can detect new opportunities for even better products with a lot more certainty than anyone else, and with much quicker speed than anyone else. If you can target and if you can identify in a more certain way and quicker than anybody else what is going to be the next top product to come up with in your product assortment, then you're on to something, most definitely. In my case, that means keep traveling, keep visiting factories, keep attending trade shows, keep attending conferences, listening to the latest bits of research, finding out about the latest technology available out there to make the products, and go out and listen and listen and listen ever more. And that to me is developing our worth. And in our company, I've obviously delegated a lot of different areas of work over the last 7 or 8 years as we've built up the staff in the company. But that is one area that I have not delegated to anybody so far, is finding that next product, finding that next concept, and visiting those factories, and keeping an ear to the ground. My staff keep an ear to the ground on many other topics, but when it comes to product development, I'm the one who actually vouches for that. It also means communicating your worth. And that might sound pretty obvious, but I realized actually how poorly we were doing that sometimes. We'd done some of it, but we had not done what I felt was the best possible job at it. Let your world, the world, your community, your customers, your prospects, that is your world. It doesn't have to be the whole wide world, but let your world know how much a difference your products are making for your customers. I was saying earlier, we realized how much the products were making a difference to our customers, but the challenge is to let everyone else know how big a difference the products are making for the neighbor's dogs, for their sister's cat, for that perfect stranger's dog or cat who lives 500 kilometers away, and whose pet's life has been changed positively thanks to our products. Let those people know. As long as they don't know, not much is going to happen. So broadcast what you're doing with the products, with your own pets. That's something that we started doing. So we started broadcasting what we were doing with our own products, with our own pets, because that's actually the quickest route. Because if you're asking your customers to shoot a video, a before and after shot, or whatever, the chances that you're going to get something back from them are actually quite slim. Or you're going to get something that is relatively technically poorly executed, bad lighting, whatever. You can't really see the difference between the before and after shot. That's most likely what you're going to end up with. And that's quite frustrating, because people tell you how much a difference you've made, but once you're asking them for visual proof of that, you're most of the time you're not getting anything that you can actually exploit and work with. So we'd hit that roadblock quite a few times and felt very frustrated with it. So we decided to do it with our own pets, and broadcast our own pets and what we were actually doing with the products. Those of us that were competing in dog shows, those of us that were competing in dog sports, those of us that had picked up pets that were in super bad shape, and then brought them on board at our house and started feeding those shelter pets our food, and watched them strive, and took those before and after shots, etc. So we basically wanted our customers to watch that and say, I want what this guy's pets have for my own pets. We let the customers know how we approach product creation. We let the customers know the steps that we go through, and the why we do things. Start with the why. That is something that you often hear. Starting with the why, keeping in mind that people don't buy what you make, they buy the reason why you're making it, the reason why you're doing it. That's what people are actually looking for. It people are actually looking for your why. They may not express it that way quite clearly, but make no mistake about it, they're actually very interested in hearing your why. because very often they're not hearing it from anyone else, or they're not hearing it from, in the case of our pet food market, they're certainly not hearing it from the large corporations that own the big brand, the big names in the market. Um, they're not hearing those personal stories behind the reason why those products are out there. So people are very curious about it. We let them see how much we care about what we're doing. When we explain the steps that we go through and the amount of effort and the amount of thinking that is involved in every single one of our decisions when it comes to putting a product out, people then and only then get the chance to realize that we care that much, that we actually go through that entire process and ask ourselves all those questions, and are looking to tick all those boxes before we put anything out. Um, this allows us to let our customers see the depth of our knowledge in our field, because how else are they going to find out? Um, I got to think, yeah, I guess you could say I'm an expert in dog nutrition, for example. I've been having dogs for show and work, and have been breeding dogs for a number of years, since 1995. It's actually been a quarter of a century. And obviously I've gathered quite a bit of knowledge in the process. Well, that does actually very little good if I cannot convey to my community how much of that knowledge I've picked up in the process, and what I'm doing it with it, and what that knowledge is doing for them and for their pet, because that's what it's all about. It's not knowledge that just allows me to sit here in my butt thinking of how great I am and how knowledgeable I am about this. This has actually zero value to my customers. It has some value to my customers once I get them to understand what that expertise is actually going to do for their pet, because that's what they care about. So we're not leaving our knowledge, or the amount of our knowledge, to their imagination. We actually show them. It's quite simple. We've put out podcasts. We've put out Facebook live sessions where people can ask us any question they want about the company, about this product, about that concept, about where we come from, about our new product development projects, about the reason why there's this ingredient here or not that ingredient there, and the reason why we cannot do a recipe like this or a recipe like that. They get the chance to ask anything that comes through their mind. And basically we switch on the Facebook live camera about once a month now, and we just let it roll for an hour. For about 8 days prior to that, we advertise it on Facebook, saying, hey, next week, from 6 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, we're going to go live on Facebook. Come and ask us anything. And when I say ask us anything, it's not a communications officer, or it's not my marketing manager who's doing that. It's myself, the founder of the company, the founder of the brand, the person who's behind the product development. I'm the one who goes out there and face the camera and ask any question they care to ask for 1 hour. Today in the French market, Atavik is probably the only pet food brand for which customers and the community know the face and first name and last name of the founder. So basically, then when I go to trade shows and I'm standing on the booth, people walk by and say, "Hey, I've seen you on Facebook. You're the guy with the Rottweiler who's doing all that cool stuff with his dog. You're the guy with the pug who's doing absolutely nothing with the pug, because let's face it, the pug is pretty much useless besides just being a pug, and which is awesome, by the way. And just sitting on my lap and dropping hair and fur and drool and snot all over the place. Those are the attributes of the pug. So people actually feel like they know us. And then we got all these other videos where we show the staff and what the staff are doing with their pet, and people will be talking to my sales girl on a booth in a trade show, and as they're talking to her, on the big screen behind on the booth, they can see her with her Belgian Shepherd doing competition on the screen, and the dog jumping obstacles and doing this and that. And people are like, whoa, so this is actually real. This is actually you here and you here with your dog. So I'm actually talking to you, and you're actually the one doing all that cool stuff that I've been watching on those videos. So that is quite powerful. That we become rock stars to people. And who would have thought that behind your pet food brand, which is something that might seem trivial to most people, and probably to many of you out there, that those that don't own a pet, and perhaps to some of you that do own a pet. Yet our community, it has come to the point where our community actually care about that, and they love us for it. The fact that we are real people and they see us do real pet owner stuff on screen, on the web, on Facebook, on our website, Facebook live sessions, you name it, and that has become very important for our community. And so we answer even the trick questions, the ones no one in the industry wants to be asked, much less answer. And we answer, and we answer, and we answer again. We answer the shit out of any question that is thrown our way. And we repurpose our answers also. And that's another thing, Chris, that I want to thank you for. And this is also not you, Chris, directly. It's is one of your speakers called Amy Woods, who was on stage in London, and who's the queen of repurposing content. She wrote a super book called Content 10X. If you have not read it yet, you absolutely must get it. And I certainly bought a copy and read it a couple times, and then gave the copy to my marketing manager for him to go over a couple times, and to my communications manager to go over a couple times, so that they get this whole idea of how powerful repurposing can be, and how much it can help us as a small company. So repurposing is making a world of difference for us. So thank you, Chris Ducker. Thank you, Amy Woods. It's making a world of difference in our ability to put ourselves out there with a small team. We're making noise as if it's 30 of us when it's only 12 of us. And again, many of our customers are flabbergasted when they find out it's actually 10 or 12 of us behind the whole thing, because we put out so much stuff out there that they believe that it's at least 3 times that amount of people that are doing it. So repurposing has achieved that for us, and it has opened so many new channels for people to reach out to us and ask us questions and provide feedback, positive or negative. The odd bit of Instagram feedback, Facebook feedback, and customer review feedback, and blog article feedback, and all those different pieces that we put out there are all funnels for people to come with feedback and help us grow and learn through that feedback. Leave no one behind. That is also something that Chris often says. Answer every comment, positive or negative. This lets people know you're there, and it lets them know that you care enough. And this is something that I believe is super, super important. And we have been doing some of it, but we have been probably most of the time answering the negative feedback. And perhaps sometimes not paid as much attention to positive feedback, quite oddly. But it keeps the feedback alive. If you don't answer, why would people keep providing feedback, positive or negative? If they feel like they're talking to a wall, well, chances are they're going to stop providing you feedback sometime soon. And you need this feedback, however unpleasant sometimes. So we do tackle the negative feedback, and we do take it head on and never run away from it. People are so surprised by the simple fact that we answer very often. In many instances, they tell us that we're the only brand that replies. It amazes me that we're still hearing that in 2020 when you think of it, with all those crazy good pieces of content out there telling you how much you should value that feedback and love your haters type of literature and contents. There's plenty of that out there. Yet I am still amazed to notice how often in 2020 you still have brands that simply do not answer negative feedback, and sometimes publicly do not answer the feedback. That just blows my mind. You get a public negative comment on your Facebook page, your own Facebook page as a brand, and nobody answers it. And that happens in many, many, many instances. I mean, the list could go on and on. Be known as the one who replies. Let us be known as the ones who systematically reply. And that's what I ask my customer service team in particular. Let us be known as the ones who face the brutal facts and the ones who own what they're doing, and the ones who step up when something is not going the right way for the customer, and where the customer is disgruntled about whatever. And sometimes the customer is wrong. I do not believe in the fact that the customer is always right. Some people are downright wrong, and you still have to answer them. You still have to answer them, if only to tell them that you believe they're wrong. And the reason why you should be doing that is that because, first of all, they deserve an answer, because they cared enough to spend those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes obviously much longer to write this paragraph, this entire piece of literature about how much you suck and how much you drop the ball. And obviously they do deserve an answer. If they cared enough, then certainly you should equally care about it. Also remember that you're playing for an audience. And so in the process, you're letting the whole world know that it's okay to give this feedback, and that somebody will answer, and that people will not be talking to a wall in the process. So leave no one behind in terms of comment that has turned out to be super important for us. Attract the best, repel the rest, as Chris often says. Also, as the founder of the company and the product lines, I can tell you, it used to be very, very difficult for me to accept that not everyone is going to like what I built. I consider myself as the father of every single one of our products. And if you are a dad or a mom out there, you know what I mean. It's never a nice thing when somebody tells you that your kid is ugly or stupid. You don't want to hear it. So you're not prepared for that, and you'll have none of it. So when you've put so much of yourself out there in building the company and building the products, it becomes super difficult to distance yourself. I was going to say distantiate. Not sure that's a word. But it's difficult to have adequate distance from what is being said about your product, and make that difference between people judging your products and people judging you as an individual. And I'm guessing when you are a Youpreneur and you are being your own brand and providing your own service around your personality and expertise, that is also the case. When haters come out there, trolls and haters come out there and tell you you suck or your products suck, it's very difficult sometimes to keep things apart from one another, and distinguish between people are angry with your product or your service, and that's what they're criticizing. They're not criticizing you, and it's very difficult to keep that adequate and safe, healthy distance between the two concepts of yourself as a person and the products and services you're putting out there. So super harsh criticism, punches way below the belt, personal attacks, you name it. We've had pretty much everything the last 8 years. Competitors, critics of all kinds, people who hate to see us succeed, people who are super aggressive when it comes to their pets or their habits as pet owners. They don't like to have their choice of this or that for their pet criticized by someone else, because they feel like that they are being criticized as pet owners, which are often referring to themselves as pet parents. So there you understand what I mean with the strong comparison that you might make with being an actual father or mother. So attract the best, repel the rest has been a tremendous help in accepting that our products stand for something, that we shine that light again and again, and that we cannot please everybody. Understanding that we cannot please everybody, and being 300% okay with it, and be at peace with it. The fact that it's all right that your product is not for everybody. It was not designed to be a one size fits all type of product. We designed the products, give you an example. We've designed the product to be the best possible that can be made in its category. Dry food, best possible dry food, best possible canned food, best possible raw frozen, best possible treats, etc. Bottom line of that is that they are quite high-end products with a high-end price tag. Mentioned that earlier. So they are not meant for everybody. They're meant for the people who care enough and can afford at the same time those products. They are not meant to be the best mid-range type of product. They are not designed to be an acceptably priced product. They are meant to be top of their class for the people who can afford that and care about it. And sometimes those are different people. Sometimes you got people that do care enough but cannot afford them. But I will not downgrade the product and make it cheaper for those people. Sometimes we have people that could afford practically anything, no problem for them, but they just don't care enough to buy something that is that good. We have not perhaps made them understand well enough why they should go to that length and actually buy that product. So attract the best, repel the rest means for us shining that light again and again, accepting that we cannot please everybody, and that the more we're going to shine that light, the more things are going to sort themselves out. People who are compatible with our light, they come out of the woods and they reach out to us. Those who are not compatible for any reason, they stick out like a sore thumb also, and we just stop wasting our time arguing with them because there's no point. And it's okay to shine that light and to be that particular beacon of light. There are other beacons of light on the market. This one is specialized in dirt cheap products, and he's the beacon of light for anybody out there looking for the cheapest possible. You got other guys that are the beacon of light for all made in France products, for example. Everything in their range is made in France, even if it means they are mid-range mediocre quality, and you can get much better quality made somewhere else, but they care about being the beacon of light for anything made in France. That's perfectly okay. You got a nice number of customers out there that actually only care about the made in France product, and that is perfectly fine. We do have some products in the range that are made in France because that's where we found the best quality in that particular category, that particular product line. But we are not absolute zealots for the made in France, and we are zealots for the best possible quality. And that is our beacon of light. And it's perfectly fine. And we accept it, and we're happy with it. And we keep shining that light over and over again. As a result, we play for a qualitative audience, and there is no limit to how deep then we can go with them, because they're drinking our Kool-Aid. They're on board. They agree with us in terms of the importance of giving your pet only the best possible. And those are the people that we want to talk to, because they're the only ones who are going to understand how much we care and how much we go through. And they're the only ones who are going to be interested in that content and hearing about what we have to say about it. Talk triggers. That is not per se something from Chris, but it's coming from Jay Bear, and Jay Bear was a keynote speaker, the keynote speaker at at the Youpreneur Summit. He was on stage. I forget what year it was. I believe it was 2018. And Jay wrote that phenomenal book called Talk Triggers, and it's all about your word of mouth strategy as a company. It's all about being intentional and being deliberate about building up your word of mouth. Based on Jay Baer's methodology, we have come up with several ideas for potential talk triggers that we tested with the team. We eventually figured out, we tried a few, most of them didn't work. We didn't hit the nail right on the head straight away. But that was all right. I went through the methodology with the team. Again, got a copy of the book for my marketing and my communication guys, and so that they could go through the steps and pick up other team members and try to come up with talk triggers. And we tried a couple of ideas that didn't quite pan out. But I believe those were necessary steps, because in doing that and eliminating potential candidates for talk triggers, we realized what our talk triggers should be, actually. So a lot of good came out of that. We realized that our talk trigger was something that we were already doing, but that we had to emphasize even more. Our talk trigger is the highest level of care that we display in our interactions with our prospects and our customers, quite simply. When people say stuff like, they answered my questions very openly. They were there every step of the way to help me choose the right product for my pet. They fixed my delivery issue with record speed and efficiency. They did not try to push irrelevant or most expensive product on me, but they truly suggested the right product for my pet. There was this nice little surprise in my parcel when I received it. I wasn't expecting it, and it made me smile. It made my day. Those are all kinds of positive feedbacks that we were getting already from our customers, quite a bit. And we have come up with this whole scheme so that we would be getting even more of those and make an even stronger impression on our customers when it comes to displaying our level of genuine, sincere care about how we do our job. So we've designed several schemes to encourage people to provide more such feedback also, and so that we could build up on it. We now answer every single customer review. And like I said, we used to answer mostly the negative reviews for obvious reasons, because we felt like we really had to, but we've started answering all reviews, including the positive reviews. We want people to know that we take no one for granted, and that we are humble and thankful for the praise that we get. It encourages people to provide more such reviews over time. If you show appreciation, it's always nicer. You know, you're when you say thank you to somebody, it's the well brought up thing to do is to say you're welcome. When you say thank you over and over again and people don't ever answer you, well, again, that doesn't feel very nice. And after a while, you might stop saying thank you. So we're setting up a scheme to systematically call our customers 15 days after the purchase to see how they're doing and how everything is going with the product. And this is also something that nobody does in our industry. And the beauty of that is that even when we cannot manage to get a hold of the customer, and that of course happens quite a bit, we call them at daytime, in the middle of the day. So quite often we can't even manage to get a hold of the customers. And sometimes they don't wish to interact with us that way. That also happens, and we respect that. But even when we cannot get a hold of them, or we get a hold of them but they don't wish to interact with us, they still appreciate the gesture, and we still get praised for the gesture when we do it, because it's thank you, I'm fine, I don't want to have that kind of conversation with my pet food brand, but thanks for asking. I appreciate that you care enough to make that phone call. And that's good enough. That's good enough. It's not for everybody. Some people will spend an hour on the phone with my team and go through so many details about their pet and their life with their pet and so on and so forth. Other people will just say, thank you, but no thank you. But thanks for asking, because first time anybody asks in the pet industry, among the pet food brands that I've been purchasing, nobody's ever asked me that. So thanks for thanks for asking. Thanks for caring about it. One of our perhaps oddly most powerful testimonies is what I call the Talk Trigger 2.0. Actually, I might pitch that idea to Jay Bear sometime soon on Twitter. Talk Trigger 2.0 is when a lady tells us that her pets did not like the product after all, or that we turned out not to have any relevant product at all for her pet, but she still will recommend us to all her friends because of how caring and how professional we behaved every step of the way. That is pretty powerful when you can get your customers, people who enjoy your products, to sing your praise and to talk about you and your company to their friends. That's one thing. But I believe the ultimate nirvana of word of mouth is when even the people you ended up not doing business with for any type of reason will still recommend you for your professionalism and the level of care that you have displayed. That, I believe, is the ultimate word of mouth. Whew, I believe I'm all done with my list of things. There are plenty more where that came from, really, because every time I come back from Youpreneur Summit, there's, of course, the keynote speakers and the quality and the depth of what they're putting out there. But there is also the mastermind sessions, sitting around like-minded people, very benevolent, very smart people who listen to you and your question, your one question you have for the session, and they're not judging you. They're not interested in taking business away from you. You can say anything that's on your mind, and they'll step up and provide their genuine opinion about things. And I can't thank them enough for that. And you know who you are. And the beauty of it is that uh, there are two mastermind sessions at every summit, and you get organized so that you're sitting with a different group at each session, and some of those people you will see next year and the year after that, and it makes for phenomenal connections. And I've met wonderful people, and they have, unbeknownst to them, provided me with a number of insights as well that are too numerous to mention here. Again, I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for being smart, all of you. And it's also about picking up um, the title of this super useful book that you should read, or the title of that super interesting podcast that the person sitting next to you says is his favorite podcast, and you had not even any idea that it existed, and you're going home and you're listening to it, and all of a sudden it just broadens your horizons, and it just blows your mind how much stuff there is out there. And hopefully you get to contribute also with your own list of books and podcasts and resources in general, and insights. And that is what is super exciting, whether you are a true youpreneur by the very definition of it, or whether you are some kind of a hybrid, like myself. Thank you for listening to my sort of thank you rant and list. Love you all in the community. Chris, my man, thank you once again. Thanks to you and your team and your family, because that is also the super important, very inspiring thing for me. I'm also the father of 8-year-old twins, and the way that you work with your family, the way everyone in your family are equally nice people, genuinely smiling, caring, super nice people. That also is a great source of inspiration. And you can tell there's not one bad bone in anyone's body there. And I commend you for that. And thank you so much for the vibe that you're putting out there. Bye-bye.